Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing another seed starting and seedling update video, and today I'm going to be starting peppers and eggplants. So I'm going to go over all of the varieties of peppers and eggplants that I plan on starting this year. We're going to go start those seeds, and then I'll give you an update on all of the seedlings that I've planted so far for the 2024 gardening season. So let's jump right in, and first I'm going to start with the sweet pepper varieties that I'm growing this year, and I'll start with kind of like the larger bell pepper types of peppers. The first one is the California Wonder Pepper, which is a really standard bell pepper. I grew this one last year and I think it did really well. Bell peppers do sometimes take a little bit longer to produce, but I feel like these ones were pretty quick, and I really liked how like the flesh of the pepper was really nice and thick. I really like that for my bell peppers. I don't want like a thin bell pepper. This makes them like really juicy and crispy, and they also freeze really well. If I have extras at the end of the season, I'll just dice or slice them up and I'll just stick them in the freezer, and then they do really well heated up. And I do like to grow a lot of sweet bell peppers since you can use them in so many things. The next one is going to be a new one for me, and this is a sweet chocolate bell pepper. And from what I've seen of these, even though I haven't grown them, I've seen them at like farmers markets. These ones tend to be a little bit smaller than maybe like a green or red bell pepper, but they are really beautiful. They're like a chocolatey purple color, really unique and beautiful. So yeah, I'm going to be trying those out for the first time. I am excited for them. And I don't expect to get as good production out of these. I think that these are one of the things you grow just because they look really cool, and maybe not so much because it has the best production. And I'm not sure if they taste very different from a regular like green bell pepper, so I guess we're just gonna have to see for that one. Next up, I have a longtime favorite of mine. This is the Echvarski pepper. I would kind of consider this a bell pepper, but it is more of like a teardrop shape versus like a squarish round bell pepper shape. I really like these ones. I think they have a fantastic flavor. Even when they're green, I find that they taste really good. And if you do wait for them to ripen to red, which can take a little bit, but if you're patient enough, I think they're probably like the best tasting red pepper that you can get. They're super sweet. They're delicious if you roast them. They're so good on the grill. I just love to cut these into some big chunks and stick them on the grill. Really good that way. So yeah, I always grow a few plants of these. I think the plants are really nice and healthy and dependable, and I tend to get a pretty good yield out of these as well. So if you haven't tried this variety, I would definitely recommend it. I really love this one, and I think it's one that I would always put on my grow list for peppers. Next up, I have a slightly smaller pepper, but even though this pepper is smaller, it has a really nice thick flesh. This one is the Lesia pepper. I think I've grown this for 2 years now, and I do really love how this one, the walls of this pepper I think are thicker than even regular bell peppers, even though this is a very small pepper. And I think that they are a really cute shape. They're kind of like a teardrop shape, but very like short and squatty, and the ends of them can be really pointy as well. So they're pretty uniquely shaped, and it's always nice to have smaller peppers because they do tend to be ready to harvest a little quicker than the bigger ones, and sometimes you can get better yield as well. And yeah, I've really enjoyed those ones, so I'm going to be growing them again this year. Next up, we're moving on to kind of like smaller peppers, but these are still sweet ones. So the first one is the Jimmy Nardello's Italian sweet pepper. I have not grown this one before, but I think I've heard that people do really like this one. It's kind of like a thinner walled pepper. It's kind of shaped like a banana pepper. They're supposed to be productive and really good for like kind of just like stir frying. So yeah, we'll see how that one does. Like I said, I always like to grow smaller peppers that might produce more peppers just to balance out my larger bell peppers, because even though those are my favorite to cook and preserve, you don't get as many peppers per plant, I find, for those larger peppers. And I'm going to be trying this Jimmy Nardello's pepper kind of instead of the Corbaci pepper that I've grown for the last few years. I do really like that pepper, but I'm just wanting to try something a little bit different. So I'm going to be replacing the Corbaci pepper I would normally grow for this Jimmy Nardello's pepper. They do seem like they have like very similar descriptions, so after this year I guess I'll see which one I like better and choose which one I'm going to grow in future years. Next up, I have a pepper called the AOS Compo pepper. Sorry that I can't roll my R's, which translates to chicken and rice pepper. This is a seasoning pepper, so it's not one that you would like pick a whole bunch of and stir fry as one meal. Usually for these, I will throw 1 or 2 of these peppers into a pot of beans or soup, and it will season the entire pot. So little goes a long way with these ones. So I'm probably only gonna grow 1 plant of these. I tried to grow these last year, but they are a very slow growing plant. So if you don't have a long growing season, I wouldn't necessarily recommend these, but if you do, give it a try because I think the flavor is really unique and they're great as a seasoning pepper. So yeah, last year I tried to plant them and they just took too long because we had a really late spring. Our spring was really cool and my plant just did not take off fast enough for me to get any fruit out of it by the end of the year. So I'm going to be trying it again, and if you do have a long enough season, the production is very good. So I think I grew one plant of these like 3 years ago and I had enough peppers to freeze to get me through at least 2 years. I actually think I still have some in my freezer that I'm working on. So just one plant is all you need, I'm pretty sure, for like most families, and that might be able to get you through several years. But yeah, since it's been a while since I picked the last ones, even though I'm still technically eating them and I think they still taste okay even though they've been in the freezer for quite a bit, I would rather have fresh ones. So hopefully my plants will do well this year. It does kind of seem like we're warming up pretty well this spring, so hopefully we have an early spring and my plants will do better and I'll be able to get some of those peppers this year. Next up I have the shishito pepper, which I love, and these peppers are definitely getting a lot more popular, I would say. I've started seeing them in a lot more grocery stores around here, not just Asian grocery stores, so that's really cool. Shishito peppers are really great for just doing like a quick blister in a hot pan and just add some salt. They make for a really quick kind of like appetizer or side dish during the summer, and I find that these plants are super productive. I think most people would probably only need like 2 or 3 plants, but I'm hoping to get a lot because I could honestly eat a plate of those like every other day. So I'm gonna be growing I think 4 plants of those, which might be overkill, but last year my plants didn't do very well and I didn't get to eat as many shishito peppers as I wanted, so I'm gonna try and make up for it this year. Lastly, for this section I have a Greek pepperoncini pepper. I think this is the pepper I'm most excited to try this year. We have just had this obsession with like pickled pepperoncini peppers over the last year. I can't even tell you how many jars we've bought and eaten from the store. We're just going through them like crazy, and that's mostly because I like to cook pizza and pickled pepperoncini peppers go so well with pizza. So if I make pizza like 2 or 3 times a month, we can easily knock out like 2 jars of pickled peppers a month. So yeah, I'm hoping that I can grow these this year and pickle my own so that I don't have to keep going to the store and buying them, because the obsession seems to just be continuing with these peppers and I just keep having to buy them. But if you haven't had these peppers before, they're kind of like a neon yellow color and they do have a little bit of heat to them. I'm kind of gonna put these like with my other sweet bell peppers because I don't think they're hot enough that I feel the need to like separate them, but I am hoping that they still have a little bit of heat because we do like when our pepperoncinis are a little bit spicy. So yeah, really excited for those. I'm gonna grow a few plants. We'll see how they do, and hopefully I can pickle and can some of those this year. All right, so those are all of the peppers in my like kind of sweet peppers category. Next, I'm moving on to the spicy peppers, and we don't grow too many spicy peppers. We do like kind of like medium spicy food, but I wouldn't say we're like spicy fiends. But I like to have a selection of spicy peppers. They're nice to like throw in maybe just a couple of peppers into different dishes. They're good for salsas and hot sauces, which we do enjoy. So I've picked a few for this year. A couple I've grown before, a couple I haven't. The first one is a Korean hot pepper. It just says wrinkled green pepper on this packet. I can't be more specific on the variety name, but I just went to H Mart and I did see these seeds there again this year. So if you have an H Mart near you and you want to try out these peppers, I would recommend them. They're super productive. Each year I only grow 1 plant and it is plenty to get me through the entire summer and have lots to preserve. They're probably like my #1 producing pepper. They just have so many peppers on the plants, and they're just a great one because if my other hot peppers are a little bit slower to get going, like my cayenne peppers, a lot of times I'm like waiting for my cayenne peppers to grow. I'll usually just pick a couple of these peppers as a substitute. I've even pulled a few of them to use in salsa if none of my other hot peppers are producing. I just love having that one plant on standby in the garden that is super dependable, and I know that I'll always have peppers on this plant to pick. I also like to just like pick 1 or 2 for a stir fry just to make it slightly spicy. They're kind of like a medium heat pepper, so they're mild enough where I can kind of like stuff them with something and fry them. I did a recipe video showing how I do that, so I'll link that in the description box. So yeah, they're a really great like multi-purpose pepper, and yeah, I just love them. I grow them every year, and again, you only need 1 plant, so can't really beat that for a plant that will just produce peppers for you all summer long. Next up, I have the Hungarian Hot Wax pepper. Honestly, I don't know if this is my favorite hot pepper. I like to grow a few of them just because I think the color is really bright and cherry. It's another one of those like bright yellow peppers. I don't know, I think I kind of feel the same way about this hot wax pepper as I do about sweet banana peppers. I just feel like they don't have like too much flavor. The walls of the pepper are a little thin as well, but I'm really not selling this pepper right now. I don't even know why I'm growing it, but I'm probably just gonna throw in a couple of these plants because I just feel like my garden needs them for some reason. I don't know if other people have plants like this where it's like you can't really justify why you're growing it, but I'm gonna grow it anyway. So yeah, moving on, I also have some cayenne peppers, and cayenne peppers are of course very spicy. These are ones that I primarily grow for drying and making my own crushed red pepper flakes. Usually I'll just grow 1 or 2 plants and that will give me enough crushed red pepper flakes for the year. If you like spicier food, they're also great for like throwing into salsa, and sometimes I will throw 1 or 2 in to just make it a spicier salsa. You can also make hot sauces with them. So yeah, really classic hot pepper. Cayenne peppers, I would say, are more like pure spice versus like other peppers maybe have some like green bell pepper flavor to them. I would say cayenne peppers don't really have that. They really are just like pure heat. But yeah, I like to grow a couple of those plants for the year. And next up I have a jalapeno pepper. This is the Craig's Grande jalapeno. So I've of course grown jalapenos many times before, but this is a new variety for me. These are supposed to be larger jalapenos. The ones that I've grown in the past are I think they're called Tam jalapenos. They're a little bit smaller. Those ones are fine, but I think a larger jalapeno would be really great to grow, just so you don't have to pick as many and they're easier to process. So yeah, we're gonna try that one out. And lastly, I have another new hot pepper. This is the Sugar Rush peach pepper. This one is supposed to be more of like a tropical heat. I think kind of similar to like habanero. So the description says, long peach colored fruits are packed with loads of super sweet tropical flavor, and the seeds bring a smoky, complex heat. I think these are definitely one where I will only use a couple, maybe in a batch of salsa. But I think my plan for most of these is going to be trying to make maybe like a hot sauce, or I can use them to make like a spicy peach barbecue sauce. I think that would be really good. Sometimes I'll put like a whole jar of hot sauce into whatever batch of barbecue sauce I'm making, so maybe I'll go ahead and just like process all of those as hot sauce and then figure out uses for that hot sauce later on. But yeah, anyway, that's like my main plan for those. I am pretty excited for those. I think like the description of them sounds really interesting with having that like tropical smokiness. And they also just look like they're gonna be a really pretty pepper. All right, so those are all of the peppers that I want to grow this year. Next, I'm going to move on to eggplants, but there are not that many. I usually grow a lot more varieties of peppers than I do of eggplants, but I do usually start them at the same time. So I'm going to be starting my eggplant as well today. So I'll just go over really quickly the varieties I'm going to be starting. First off, I have 2 varieties that I attempted to grow last year, but last year we did not get any eggplants. My seedlings were sadly murdered immediately by flea beetles when I put them out, which does tend to happen around here, and that's why I usually only attempt to grow a few eggplant plants, just because it can be very like hit or miss with us, since we do have a lot of pest pressure for these plants. But anyway, the 2 varieties that I tried last year were both new to me. The first one is the Lada de Gandia. It's a beautiful, like stripy eggplant, kind of more of like a globe shaped, and I picked this one just because it was really pretty. I was hoping to see what they looked like, but it never got to that point, so we're gonna try again this year. And then actually I'm not sure if I tried this one last year or if I just got these seeds. These are Rosa Bianca eggplant seeds. I didn't pick these out, we got them from our neighbor, so not really sure about how these will do, but these ones also look like more of like an Italian, larger round eggplant. So yeah, we'll try both of those. And this one looks kind of like a lighter purple color versus like the dark, like Black Beauty eggplants. So yeah, another really pretty one. Hopefully I get to see them one day. And then lastly, I have an Asian eggplant. This is a Taiwanese eggplant called Ping Tung. These are like the longer, skinnier eggplants. They're great for stir frying. They're sweeter. And yeah, these are the eggplants I really prefer to grow, but some larger globe eggplants are also nice to have, so I like to do a combination of both. So those are all of the seeds that I am going to be starting today, all of the pepper and eggplant varieties that I want to grow this year. So now I'm gonna go outside and start all of these seeds. but I have to get myself out there to clean my seedling cells. I don't know about you guys, but that's like my least favorite part about starting seeds. I think it's always a really exciting day when I have lots of seeds to start, but my least favorite task is probably washing out the seed starting cells. So I'm kind of procrastinating on that, but once I get myself to do that, I'll go outside and start these seeds. And then at the end, I will give you an update on my seedlings. So first, before I go outside, I'm going to write all of my plant tags, and I did have a list with each of the varieties I am growing, as well as the number of plants of each that I want to start this year. And I always like to do this before I get to any sowing, because I've already planned out a very specific area of the garden where all of these plants are going to go, and I want to make sure I stay within that space. I think that if you don't plan this out beforehand, we have the tendency to start lots of plants, and there won't be space for all of the plants when we go to plant them out in the garden. So I like to kind of contain myself and only start the number of plants that I know I'll need, maybe with just a couple of spares in case any of my plants die or don't do well. For most of these varieties, I am planting 1 to 4 plants of all of them since I have so many kinds of peppers. And since I'm going to be planting in individual pots, I am making sure to write an individual tag for each pot. I've learned this lesson from the past where my pots get all mixed up, and really one pepper plant for the most part will look exactly like another kind of pepper plant, and it's very easy to get them mixed up when it's time to transplant them out in the garden. So I always make sure that if I'm doing individual pots, I write individual tags. I think this is especially important when it comes to peppers because you do have the variability of like sweet peppers versus hot peppers. Some people like to separate them out in the garden, so you definitely want to know beforehand if your pepper is going to be hot or sweet. And also beyond that, there are some hot peppers that look like sweet peppers, and you definitely don't want to bite into a pepper that you think is sweet and have it be a hot pepper. So labeling everything is key here. One other thing that I decided to do was after I wrote all of my tags, I put them in the corresponding varieties seed packet, and that way when I go out to plant each of my seeds, I can just take out the tags from that packet and I'll know exactly how many starts I'm planting for each of the varieties since I have the exact number of tags. This was actually something that was really helpful. I've never done this before, but I think I will do it in the future for things like this where I am planting out multiple plants in individual pots. Next, I went out and gathered the exact number of pots that I needed since I already had made my list beforehand. I knew how many seedlings I would have in total, so I just rinsed off that number. I am just kind of doing like a lazy hose rinse here. I know like the proper way is you wash them out with like dish soap or even diluted bleach, but honestly half the time I don't do that and I'm too lazy. But if you want to make sure there are no like fungal or bacterial issues, you can definitely do a more thorough wash. But I guess I'll just take my chances, and I'm going to fill each of these pots with some potting soil. This is really nice potting soil that doesn't have larger pieces of wood or anything in it, but if you have potting soil that has large pieces of wood, maybe try using a seed starting mix. I think for pepper plants, they're a little bit more like finicky than maybe like brassica plants, which are really easy to grow. So for pepper plants, I would really make sure your soil is nice and fine. And these are the 2-inch pots from Bootstrap Farmer that I've been using for many years now, and they're still holding up great. I'm still using them, and I find that the 2-inch pot is the perfect size for these pepper plants. I probably will not have to pot them up before they go out in the garden since pepper plants do grow a little bit more slowly. I think they're just going to stay in this one pot until they're ready to go out in the garden, which is not going to be until probably mid-May. And just as a reminder, our estimated last frost date is mid-April, but for pepper plants and eggplants, I do like to wait quite a bit until all risk of frost is gone. And I also like to wait a little bit of extra time just to make sure the weather is really nice and warm as well, and not just like right above freezing, because these plants do like warm weather. So until then, they will be growing inside under grow lights, and they'll be staying there for the next 2.5 to 3 months. So now that all of my pots are filled pretty much to the top, I just made a little bit of a divot in the center for my seeds, and I have all of my seed packets to the side here, and what I'm doing is just going through one by one, taking out the pre-written tags that I have prepared and seeing how many pots I need for each, and just adding 2 to 4 seeds. If the seeds are newer, as in like I just bought them in the last year or so, 2 seeds is usually good, but if my seeds are older, I like to go up to 4 seeds just in case some of the seeds don't germinate. And this process went so smoothly. Writing Making all of my tags and putting them in the seed packets beforehand was honestly such a pro move if I do say so myself, and everything just went really smoothly. I didn't have to like look at my little piece of paper to see how many of each variety I needed, and I didn't have to guess if I had already planted this variety or not, because I knew that if it didn't have any plant tags in it, then I had already planted them. So yeah, it was really simple. I fit all of my peppers in one tray, but then my eggplants didn't fit. But I do have another tray of seedlings that has some empty space in it, so I can just add these eggplant starts to that tray. Once my seeds are planted, I just take a little bit of the soil from the side of the pot to lightly cover those seeds. I don't add any more soil because they just need a really light covering. And that's it for all of the new seeds that I started today, so let's move on to a little update on my other seedlings. So here they all are, and first I'm going to show you my onion seedlings, which were the first thing I started in the year. You can see this pot has lots of onion seedlings in there, and I keep them trimmed to about 5 to 6 inches. So when they get a little bit long, I just give them a little haircut. You can use them as chives in your cooking. And here's a look at my red onion starts, which you can already see they have like a slightly different color from the yellow onions. So that's always really fun to see when seedlings have already characteristics of the fully grown plant. Next up, I have my lemongrass seedlings here. They grow a little slowly, so they're only a little bit bigger than last time I showed them to you. Then I have some cauliflower starts, and then my Napa cabbage. You can already start to see those broader leaves on those. They look really pretty with some raindrops on them because it had just drizzled. And I actually need to go in and thin a lot of these plants to have just one plant per cell, so I'm going to do that soon. And then my Greek oregano is super thick. I need to actually thin this out or pot it up because there's way too many seedlings in there. And all of these pots are just my eggplant starts that I had just sown. I had some empty space in this tray, so I stuck them in there. And then in the back here, I have my broccoli starts, which are looking really good. And then I do have this one pack of cabbage plants that I planted, but the seeds were really old. I think I actually meant to throw these out last year and I forgot because the germination had been bad. So I ended up planting them again this year, and again they were bad. So I need to go and throw those seeds out because they are too old at this point. Then my tray behind that is the one that I planted up, I think, in the last video. These are my bok choy, kale, and lettuce seedlings that have all come up now. They all have just a couple of leaves. They're looking really cute and tiny, and yeah, they're just growing along. They probably have a few more weeks and they're gonna go outside, but I've started already to kind of like harden off my seedlings on nice days. So they're just soaking up a little bit of the sun and letting the wind strengthen their stems outside on this nice day. And that's everything that I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one.